Hello, everybody. My name is Maurice Button. I'm the CEO of City and Financial Global, and it's my pleasure today to be interviewing Ben Foulser, who's the Managing Director, Infrastructure Advisory Group at KPMG. Ben is going to be speaking at our EV Infrastructure Summit in London. Ben, welcome.
Maurice, thank you very much. It's great to be here today, and we're very much looking forward to hosting and speaking at the EV Infrastructure Summit. It's an opportunity for us to engage with stakeholders from across the ecosystem, from government through to charge point operators, financiers, to really get under the skin of what's needed to accelerate the deployment of EV infrastructure. So it's wonderful being with you today.
Fantastic. We're very excited about the event and the fact you're hosting and that you will be speaking as well. So two questions, Ben. First of all, the government announced its smart charging strategy last week, and the idea being to make long duration vehicle charging, is make that the way that long duration vehicle charging is achieved within 2 years. Do you think that this is achievable? And what do you think are the main steps involved in delivering on this strategy?
I think it's an ambitious target, but certainly one that's needed to incentivize and to encourage innovation in the sector. One of the key challenges we're going to have is looking at how do we retrofit existing infrastructure. And then the second challenge is going to be whether we really get the use cases driven through to make this a practical reality. So what I mean by that is it's all very well and good to have smart charging, but at least unless you have the customer propositions that align to that, it becomes very difficult to get the take up of those smart charging capabilities. I think that it's very much necessary if we're going to accelerate and deliver the amount of infrastructure we need. We need to have smart charging to mitigate the risk of not being able to deliver the grid connections and to mitigate the risk of not having the energy supply more broadly.
Yep.
And also in the context of the cost of charging, I think it's interesting that smart charging should give us the opportunity to help make it more accessible more broadly to a broader range of car drivers.
Mm. Yes, it is certainly a challenging timetable, isn't it? I mean, moving on to the local electric vehicle infrastructure fund and the on-street residential charge point scheme, how do you think that partnerships between local authorities and the private sector have been developing, and do you think that those are really the best way forward?
So to date, it's been really important to have those partnerships. And I think that they will continue in the future as we look at how do we unlock land packages, how do we accelerate planning consents and planning permissions, and indeed, how do you continue to keep getting patient capital into the sector? Obviously, with local authority funding, gives us an opportunity to have some quite innovative commercial models which get us over especially more rural areas and areas of lower demand, that rump of the yield being quite low for the first 2, 3, 4 years and actually potentially even longer term. So if we want to just transition to electric vehicles, we want to make sure that we have the right infrastructure, those partnerships are going to continue being very, very important.
Yes, and there's some very good examples of that, aren't there, that I've been reading about recently. Turning to another subject, EV fleets and the decarbonisation of fleets. For instance, you can see that with the bus fleets at the moment. It's very much in the news. You know, what are your views on how rapidly fleets can be decarbonised, and what do you think are the best models for financing that?
So I think we're starting to see a real increase in the pace of technology innovation and indeed supply chain capabilities. It's quite interesting to see in the bus market, especially, the number of suppliers now coming into the market, especially the UK market, and the success of companies like Equipmake in Norfolk with powertrain development. So I think that for me is quite an encouraging piece, as it is in the HGV market, which whilst hydrogen remains quite a key capability we need to be exploring, battery electric HGVs are increasing at pace. That obviously has the challenge of the constraint of the infrastructure to support it. Battery HGVs need really realistically megawatt charging for en route, and that in itself is going to require investment. As you said, we have Levi, we have AUX, we have Rapid for the motorway service areas and potentially A-road service areas. But that funding alone is not sufficient to deliver the quantity of EV charging we need. Financing solutions are required, and those financing solutions are evolving in and of themselves. We've seen financing solutions at a point level for infrastructure and for vehicles. We're now starting to see much more service-based and consolidated financing solutions for the charging infrastructure and the vehicle. And that can be infrastructure as a service, or it can be battery as a service. So I think those innovations are going to be really important. And I also think the consumer confidence, the financing provider confidence in things like residual value risk are starting to increase. And we saw the first deal, I think it was the Bellio in South London, and Rock Road, who provided a financing package where Rock Road said, we'll take residual value risk on the battery. And that we will see more and more of in the market as people get more confidence in the performance of the technology and the confidence in the performance of the vehicles themselves and the asset classes.
So some very, very exciting ideas coming out there. Finally, Ben, looking at the development of charging both in the UK and internationally, I suppose first of all in the UK, do you think that we're going to be in a position to provide the network that's really required? I mean, there's a huge gap between the number of people who have cars and the range and ability of the infrastructure to service that, and particularly the anticipated numbers of uptake of EV vehicles. Then you mentioned obviously also HGV requiring its own systems as well. What are the prospects for the market here? And are there any lessons from overseas, from France or other countries?
So in response to that question, I think that we have the technical ability and we have now the knowledge and the expertise and the capabilities within the markets to deliver the network.
Yes.
I think there are constraints within both planning and supply side that will be important to address in terms of expediting delivery. I think financing solutions are coming online now. And I still think, as I said earlier, that the involvement of local authorities and the effective use of the funds, AUK, Levi and Rapid, and the crowding into private capital to make those go further is going to be really important. The other element I think it's worth exploring is demand side management. So how do we educate consumers to better understand the range of their vehicles, to improve confidence at driving with a third of a battery, and to switch people's habits. So it's not like the mobile phone of having to plug in every night when you come home. People actually are prepared to drive their cars half empty or a third full, and then go to fast chargers, and having a sufficient number of those. And as I've frequently said, this is going to be an amalgam of different solutions. It's not just going to be all ultra rapid chargers at service areas. It's not going to be all destination chargers. It's got to be an ecosystem of those different types across the market.
Yeah, very interesting. Exciting times, Ben. We look forward to exploring all of these issues in greater depth at the event on the 22nd of March. I very much hope that our viewers will be able to join us in person for that event. Only remains for me to say, Ben, thank you very much for sharing those insights. I look forward to seeing you.
Likewise, thank you, and we're looking forward to seeing you all there as well.